Hello everyone and welcome to our Week 10 battle of the APA Evolution League. The New York Empoleon are 7-2 taking on the 6-3 Oklahoma City Thundurus coached by Mio. If you have never seen Mio before, link is in the description below to all of his content and I encourage you guys to check it out. He is an incredible showdown battler, very well known in the community for being one of the scariest players and arguably the favorite in this league to win it all going into the season. Now we are the only player in the league who has a better overall record than him. So this should be a marquee matchup. If you haven't seen my team builder, definitely I say every time, like, go check out the team builder if you want to see my sets, but in a way that I don't usually say it, I actually had this battle and then recorded the team builder this time. And you should check out that team builder because there's some information there that you might want to know going into this battle. And some interesting things are going to happen in this battle, and I encourage you guys to check out why some of the sets I'm running are what they are. But you're going to see that he actually does not bring his Mega Scizor, which is perfectly fine by me, and I was kind of expecting that he may not bring it. Additionally, he doesn't have the Decidueye, which is great, since his removal is now limited to the Gliscor and the Rotom Wash and the Latios, all of which are not great defoggers, in my opinion, in this matchup. The Latios gets it off, but then it takes a big hit from basically anything. Now I'm trying to figure out what's going to be his Scarfer to try to take out the Coco. It could be the Weavile, it could be the Latios, it could be the Gliscor, it could be the Rotom, it could be the Keldeo. So I was like, okay, that doesn't really help me narrow anything down. But let's just jump right into this battle, and you guys are going to see... oh god, there's music! Oh no, turn that off. Alright, you guys probably couldn't hear that anyway. But anyway, so... there was the music, and I have the music muted, so you guys couldn't hear it, but it happened in my ears. Anyway, we lead off with our Incineroar as he leads off with his Keldeo. I don't know what item this Keldeo is going to be, but I figure let's get a little bit of chip damage off on it since I do have access to the Fake Out, so we're going to go for that, as he does flinch and nothing happens. And now at this point, I sort of decide I'm not going to try to make any reads. I'm just going to go right into my Vaporeon. It's not the best switch in the world because of the fact that the Keldeo can just go straight for a Secret Sword. It's super effective on Incineroar as well. But Vaporeon is my answer to Keldeo, so I do switch right into it here as he actually sets up the substitute, and I am like, oh, this Keldeo is such a problem for my team. Why is it so annoying? But he actually then reveals that he is sub-toxic Keldeo, as I am forced to go for the Acid Armor here to try to get myself to be able to take some more Secret Swords. He shows the Toxic, which makes me really sad, as he does show me the Secret Sword. It does about 25%, and I go for the Scald, which of course doesn't break his substitute. He hasn't shown to be leftovers or anything, so I'm assuming he's a Z-move, which is probably a safe bet against my team. It makes the most sense, as this thing then takes a second Scald, and that does break the substitute, but my Vaporeon is worn down to the point where that's not ideal, and I can't just stay in on this Keldeo anymore, so I decide to go straight into my Gardevoir. If he sets up another substitute, I can immediately break it, which is good because I am Scarfed, I can immediately break the substitute, which I reveal to be Scarfed here, and he reveals not to be Scarfed here, as he actually goes for the Secret Sword, predicting me to go back into my Vaporeon to try to get HP back, but I don't do that. I wanted to break the substitute, so I'm actually just going to stay in. He knows I'm Scarfed and has a free switch into Rotom Heat at this point, and I just go for another Moonblast, knowing he's going to go into the Rotom Heat, but I don't think it's too big of a problem, as I am going to be able to switch into my Incineroar on the Rotom and not have to worry too much about it. I thought about predicting it and playing into the Rotom Heat switch in and going directly out into my Incineroar on the turn prior, knowing that he wasn't going to stay in with his Keldeo right there. But I didn't think it was worth it since the 20% is something. We did see the leftovers, so actually it ends up being a pretty good informational turn for me. And I do get the Incineroar in here, as you're going to see that he is going to just be able to click, just go back into Keldeo. He makes the read that I wasn't willing to make. And I go for another Fake Out, put him down to 26%. I was so mad because it allows him to set up another substitute. There's nothing I can do except go for a U-turn here to try to make sure that the substitute gets broken if he does go for it by the Vaporeon on switch in. So I do actually stay in. He goes for the Secret Sword, the 78%. I eat my berry, which brings me back to a healthy amount of HP, and I am able to go for the U-turn and knock him down to where he cannot set up another substitute, which means that my Coco actually comes in for free since I know he isn't Choice Scarfed, sets up the terrain, and this is where I realize something has gone terribly wrong in my team building. And you're going to see it in just a second as he switches into his Rotom Heat, and I actually decide I was going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, and it does nothing. And I was like doing the calc, and I was like, wow, that should do like 25%. That did 11%. Why? Turns out, if you haven't watched the team builder, I don't know if you'll see it here, you can't, But it turns out, if you didn't watch the team builder, this Tapu Koko is jolly natured with a -0 special attack with Dazzling Gleam, Volt Switch, and Hidden Power Water. So Dazzling Gleam into HP Water, if I was running max special attack, should have had a chance to KO the Rotom pending his spread. Now that I know that I have no special attack investment, this Koko has become a lot less valuable to me, since it can't really do anything to anything except for maybe revenge kill things if they're at 10% or less. So all of a sudden, I now don't think my Koko is going to be doing all that much, in all honesty. So I'll Volt Switch out on the Rotom instead of staying in on it, which is something the Koko was supposed to be able to check. And go out into my Nidoqueen, which is a risky switch, as he does have the ability to just go straight for an Overheat. You're going to see he does over 50%, but because of the fact that he does get the special attack drop, I am going to be able to stay in with my Nidoqueen and not have to worry too much about it, and be able to set up my Stealth Rocks here, as he actually switches out into his Weavile, which is a pretty good switch in my opinion. I could have gone for the Rock Slide, I thought about it, but it was not worth the risk there. Rather get Rocks up. I do have the Incineroar, which is healthy, doesn't have an item, so when he goes for the knockoff here, you're going to see it does very, very little after the Intimidate, and I am going to be able to just U-turn at this point on whatever he wants to bring in. But I actually decide to go for the knockoff here because it's even freer, and if he does go into something like the Gigalith, then I can U-turn the following turn. I actually get a crit. Don't know if that mattered or not, since I do have the switch into Vaporeon here on the U-turn, and he is going to go for an Earthquake and just take that out. Or not take it out, but bring it down to where I definitely can't Wish, Protect, or anything like that. And instead of trying to take him out or do anything too fancy, instead of going for a Wish or trying to do anything too fancy, I am going to try to take him out and go for a Scald as the Latios comes in. Does not get burned, unfortunately, but I do have the opportunity at this point to go out into my Scizor. Since he doesn't bring his Mega Scizor, the Akaberry is just for the Hidden Power Fire that I expect to be coming. He goes for it, I take it, and I am able to click another knockoff for free, knock out the Latios, which has a Soul Dew, which I was like, that's cool. I didn't realize that was legal again, just didn't think about it. And Scizor now still has a ton of value to me with the Bullet Punch, taking out the Weavile later. So I'm just going to go back into my Incineroar here, which stops this Rotom from doing anything too shady, as he is just going to be able to go for a Defog. And my Incineroar now continues to be pressuring his entire team with the knockoff, so I'm going to go for it, and I actually crit the Rotom down to 1%. So he goes to the Overheat, which does nothing, and I have a completely free U-turn at this point to actually just take him out and switch out, which is amazing since I do still have my ability to switch in with Intimidate on things like the Weavile and can take a hit from that. As the Koko comes in, he goes out into his Gliscor behind a Reflect, and then immediately switches into his Gigalith to try to scout out my Hidden Power Ice. But I'm actually just going to go for the Z Dazzling Gleam, which doesn't even... It's not sand boosted. There's no sand. That doesn't even kill. This Koko can't do damage. And I was like, oh my god, what is this? This is absurd. This Koko literally cannot do any damage to anything. It's not helpful except for its speed stat. So, like... what am I even doing here? So I decide to just reveal the Hidden Power Water. There's nothing else that I really can do to this Gigalith, and it just dies to that. So Koko actually picks up a kill in this matchup. He goes out into his Gliscor, seeing that is a super effective Hidden Power against his Gigalith. Goes for the Earthquake. We live that. We were like EV'd to like live these things, and we can't really touch him, so we just go for another Dazzling Gleam. He's going to show us the Roost. He's actually not... he doesn't have the Poison Heal, which I was like, huh, that's really interesting. But I just need my Koko to die, basically. I don't care. This thing needs to just die, and so I'm just going to do as much damage as I can to his Gliscor. I assume it's Yachi Berry is what, since it's not Scarfed, is generally what I'm going to run the assumption of. And down goes the Koko, and I was like, I could have roosted if it was like a good Koko. This would have done like 50% with Dazzling Gleams, but instead it's doing 25. As my Gardevoir comes in and actually traces the Hyper Cutter, so I am going to know that. Moonblast doesn't quite take him out. He goes for the Earthquake, which doesn't quite take me out. He has to pick a sack here, and he's actually going to pick the Keldeo at this point, since he can then threaten me out with the Weavile. There's a 50-50 here that he's going to go for Pursuit. There's a 50-50 here that he's going to go for the Ice Shard. But I figure Pursuit is less scary than Ice Shard, since then Incineroar gets in 100% for free, whereas the Ice Shard Incineroar actually takes a little bit of damage. So I'm just going to go into the Incineroar here and let Gardevoir go down if it needs to, as I do have the Incineroar able to just freely click U-turn. And the Gliscor does survive the U-turn, but Scizor comes in and can click Bullet Punch twice and take this game. So down goes the Gliscor. Ice Shard cannot kill my Scizor from this range, and so in comes the Weavile. Now the rocks aren't there, and I should have recognized that he was probably Sash, but he actually has enough bulk to live it, as he goes for the low kick and takes me out. But because of the fact that my Incineroar has Fake Out, I am going to be able to win this game 3-0 without my Gardevoir risking the Ice Shard, and just take out the Weavile from there with the Fake Out, as Incineroar puts in a ton of work this game, and we are able to pick up the 3-0 victory against Mio and the Oklahoma City Thundurus, pushing us to 8-2 on the season and all but clinching us a playoff spot. If I'm not mistaken, the 9th place team, which is we have to place top 8, is 5-4 right now and hasn't done their battle yet. So if they lose at any point, then we are going to be clinching our playoff spot. Or if we win again, we clinch the playoffs. And we are very, very close to clinching a higher seed than that. There's a couple teams at 7-3, so they're right on my tail right now. So I've got to make sure I keep putting the pressure on and winning. But there's 2 weeks left, and we are in great position to at least make playoffs, if not make a deep run. This team is absolutely fantastic, and I've been loving it all season. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys all back here next week as we take on Big Daddy Dave and the Chicago Conkelders. Take care, everybody.